A shocking incident unfolded in a Walgreens parking lot that would leave investigators stunned. What appeared to be a tragic confrontation between two men would turn into one of the most complex criminal cases in recent history. Let's dive into this unbelievable true crime story. A concerned citizen called emergency services after witnessing something alarming. I'm driving north on Linda, and there were some incidents at the Walgreens. When I drove by, there were people who appeared to need help. When law enforcement arrived at the scene, they encountered a complicated situation. Two individuals were on the ground with injuries. One person, identified as Emmett Corrigan, had already passed away. The other individual was Deputy Sheriff Robert Hall, who had sustained a serious head injury. Present at the scene was Robert's wife, Candy Hall. She appeared emotionally distressed and had blood on her clothing. Investigators also located a firearm nearby, just one weapon at the scene. This raised immediate questions for the investigation team. How were two people injured with a single firearm? What sequence of events had occurred? These were the puzzles detectives needed to solve. Robert was transported to the hospital for emergency treatment, while Candy was asked to come to the police station to provide her account as a witness. Since she was present during the incident, her testimony would be crucial. However, investigators first wanted to speak with Robert if his condition permitted. At the medical facility, Robert was in critical but stable condition. Despite his serious injury, he was able to communicate with detectives who hoped to understand what had transpired. Can you tell us what you remember about the incident at Walgreens? Robert's responses were somewhat unclear due to his condition, but he provided important information. My wife was there. My daughter informed me about her location. Detectives continued their questioning. Was there any kind of dispute or altercation? Yes, there was another individual present. What was the nature of your interaction with this person? We had a confrontation. What was the confrontation about? My wife. Robert indicated he had been involved in a dispute concerning his wife with another man. He then provided a significant detail. The other person was her employer. I believe he caused my injury. Before investigators could gather additional details, Robert's medical condition required immediate attention. However, they had obtained valuable information. There appeared to be a complex interpersonal situation involving three people. The deceased, Emmett Corrigan, was Candy's workplace supervisor. Robert believed Emmett was responsible for his injury. However, there was a crucial detail that didn't align with this account. The firearm recovered at the scene was registered to Candy Hall. This raised questions about how events actually unfolded. At the police station, Candy Hall was in an interview room, visibly upset and emotional. She was unaware of her husband's current medical status. When an officer informed her that Robert was in stable condition, she expressed relief. Thank you so much for that information. Detectives needed to understand the full picture of what happened. When they began their interview, Candy provided what seemed like a straightforward explanation. She stated that the encounter was completely unplanned. She had gone to the pharmacy to collect her medication. Her supervisor, Emmett Corrigan, happened to be there as well for a similar purpose. Since they were collaborating on an important work project, Emmett suggested they briefly discuss the case while running an errand together. She emphasized this was purely professional. When they returned to the parking lot where her vehicle was parked, her husband Robert was already there. He had been informed of her location by their daughter, who had contacted him. According to Candy's initial statement, the three individuals were having a conversation when she suddenly heard unusual sounds. When she turned around, both men were on the ground with injuries. She stated she didn't understand what had occurred. The sounds happened so quickly. I wasn't sure what I was hearing at first. The investigators listened carefully to her account, but they had already uncovered information that Candy was unaware they possessed. During their preliminary investigation, they had discovered electronic communications that painted a different picture of the relationship between Candy and Emmett.